Portal God Todd is cooking once again with 3 recent transfer portal additions for the Florida Gators men's basketball team.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Tuesday. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country and NFL 33. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. And like I said, we're talking about Todd Golden, Florida Gators men's basketball coach here, because what he's done in the portal, really, the first off season that he was here, transfer portal was rough. It was very clear that his evaluations, both of the roster and of the transfer portal, were way too rushed and just bad. And then he had a full year here, got to evaluate both his roster and the transfer portal. And this past season was, the transfer portal players made huge impacts for him and for the Florida Gators and helped make the March Madness tournament for the first time in quite a few years. And then now we're going through it again, and that's such is life in college sports in 2024. But the addition that we're going to talk about first is Elijah Martin, because I do think that is the biggest addition from Florida Atlantic, FAU. I think Elijah Martin was the biggest addition that Todd Golden made this cycle, and I think it's the biggest addition that he is going to make this cycle. Elijah Martin was one of the most highly sought-after players in the transfer portal. Of course, FAU lost Dusty May. He went to Michigan. A lot of guys then jumped ship from FAU, but Elijah Martin, 6'2", 210 pounds. He can play both guard spots, which I do think is huge, especially when you look at Walter Clayton Jr. maybe going to the NBA draft. I do expect Walter Clayton Jr. to be back, but Walter Clayton Jr. and Will Richard both declared for the NBA draft while maintaining their college eligibility, and so they can come back if they don't like what they hear from the NBA advisory board. So I do think that they'll both be back, and having Walter Clayton Jr. back with Elijah Martin is huge. I do think that Elijah Martin will end up being one of the leading scorers on the team in 2024, because when you look at FAU, they had quite a few guys who had pretty high volume. Like the Jonte Davis specifically had like 27.3% of his possessions ended up with shots, or ended up with him shooting the ball. Things like that, or 27.3% of possessions where he was on the court ended with him shooting the ball. Things like that. That kind of held Elijah Martin back, but held him to about 21% of his possessions becoming shots. For Florida, you're replacing quite a few guys now that you need to replace their shots as well. Like you need to replace that those possessions, specifically looking at Tyrese Samuel shot 22.7% of the time. Zion Pullen shot 20% of the time. Riley Kugel shot 22.7% of the time. You're losing all those shots. I'm not even saying production, anything. You're losing all those shot attempts. And so bringing in someone like Elijah Martin can help you replace those shot attempts with someone who, by the way, is fairly efficient as a shooter. His effective field goal percentage is about 50.8%. Todd Golden wants that to be around 51%. So he's 0.2 percentage points away from the actual threshold that Todd Golden wants. But I do think that Elijah Martin, him being able to score off the dribble and as a catch and shoot scorer, I think that's huge for Florida. Having someone that can create their own shot specifically is going to be big, especially when you look at the rest of the portal additions so far. More of off-ball, big men players. So you need someone that's going to be able to create those shots because, again, losing Zion Pullen, losing Riley Kugel, who, again, Riley Kugel was basically out of the rotation by the end of the season. But those are guys who could create. They could. One thing with Elijah Martin that I do think that he brings to the table that I love is that he is aggressive as a defender, and he can guard the 1 through 3 spots. So for me, 6'2", 210 is not big. Obviously, it's rather small for a modern guard, but being able to guard the 1 through 3 will help Florida with it for a team that was just at times so awful defensively. There were just quite a few times where I was just like, what the hell are they doing defending the guard spot specifically? Elijah Martin's, I don't want to say he's a great rebounder. He's a good rebounder for a guard, but I think the willingness that's there is what kind of separates him from some other guards that we've seen either on roster or enter the transfer portal. We're having a guard that just gives you, a couple extra possessions. Like if you're a guard that averages 3 rebounds per game or even 4 rebounds per game, that's giving you just 3 or 4 extra shots, extra possessions. We'll say extra possessions, just because, you can turn the ball over. So extra possessions there that, again, more possessions you have, more opportunity for points. So stuff like that you get from Elijah Martin, that's going to be helpful for the Florida Gators. 75% free throw shooter, which is a pretty good upgrade for Florida over a guy like Riley Kugel, who shot under 70%. Tyrese Samuel shot 56%, which we'll talk about the rest of the free throw shooting from the transfer portal, because it's not been great for Florida adding free throw shooters to the transfer portal. But for the most part, like adding Elijah Martin helps you. Like let's call this what it is. You are not going to replace what Zion Pullen brought to the roster, because there are not field generals, court generals like Zion Pullen available every year. There's not. There's a few, and I mean very few, guards that can distribute the way that Zion Pullen did while taking care of the ball the way that Zion Pullen did. There are few true point guards like that. And so to even expect or even try to replace that or replicate that, you're doing yourself a disservice, because you're not going to do it. It's very difficult. Just looking at assist to turnover rate, Zion Pullen had a differential between assist and turnover rate of 14.3%. That's ridiculous. Like that is ridiculous efficiency that you don't find anywhere else. And so Zion Pullen, you can't replace him. What you can try to do is replace his scoring. You can try to put the ball in Walter Payton Jr.'s hands more, try to put the ball in Elijah Martin's hands more, and just say, hey, focus more on scoring instead of distributing. You could you're basically going to play a little bit more ISO ball and a little bit more of create and kick out, but you can't replace that. It's just not possible. Again, having someone who's going to work on the boards, get you a couple extra possessions, couple extra shots, couple extra points. Someone who's going to be an aggressive defender that can force turnovers, and he's going to be able to give you a couple extra shots, couple extra possessions. Someone that can create extra possessions, extra points. That's what Todd Golden is looking for. And Elijah Martin gives you that while also giving you deep playoff tournament or deep March Madness tournament experience, because Elijah Martin was with FAU when they went to the Final Four in the 2022-2023 season. And he was with FAU this past season, which was a very brief tournament run, but still a tournament run for the 2023-2024 season. So Elijah Martin gives you that experience, as well as giving you someone who can give you more points, who can get you more possessions, and help you be a better overall basketball team. So Elijah Martin's an addition that I'm a huge fan of. Hugh, I'd imagine you like him as well, just because I feel like we generally like the same kind of basketball players. So that's a big addition for the Florida Gators. And we are about to talk about Sam Alexis, who was the first commit in the transfer portal for the Florida Gators. But first, a quick word from a couple of sponsors. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer that it gets to first pitch. I was looking at tickets for May 14th. Just know I will be at Citi Field to watch Phillies at Mets. I will be watching the New York Mets beat the Philadelphia Phillies. No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind at all. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. And again, I like to further take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets by waiting until the day of or the day before, so I know which starting pitcher I'm going to see. Maybe I wait until I see which lineup I'm going to see. Just saying, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed every time. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is also brought to you by FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL, and baseball's in full swing. And today is Dinger Tuesday. And FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 whether you win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to strikeouts to three-pointers made, all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make your first bet an automatic win. And remember that FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. And the next player that we're talking about is the first player that committed to the Florida Gators during this transfer portal cycle. And again, I didn't start with him because I felt like starting with Elijah Martin was way bigger of an addition. And it's not a knock on Sam Alexis at all. It's just I think the Elijah Martin addition was massive for the Florida Gators basketball program. But Sam Alexis out of Chattanooga is a 4 or 5. He could defend multiple positions, which is really his major selling point. Like that's what you're getting when you're talking about bringing in someone from the transfer portal that's going to contribute immediately. And you're looking at someone like Sam Alexis. It's that you have someone that can defend, I'll say, the 2 to 5. I don't want him guarding a point guard. I do think that at Chattanooga, when they switched, which was pretty frequently, he did a pretty solid job. Again, I don't want him guarding point guards. I typically don't want anybody outside of a 1 through 3 guarding a point guard. But Sam Alexis is 6'9", 230-pound addition here. Very efficient as a scorer around the rim. And he can shoot from mid-range a bit. But let me tell you, he should not be shooting threes. Or not even that he shouldn't be, because it's also something that he just doesn't do. Shot almost 40% as a freshman with Chattanooga. And then as a sophomore this past year, shot 28%. He shot more frequently there, kind of. Like he played a couple more games this year, had more shot attempts. But it's also just something that he was really efficient around the rim. He was really efficient from 2. So didn't need to shoot as many threes or didn't need to look for it. And it also just wasn't hitting as consistently as it did as a freshman. But the efficiency that he has around the rim is huge for the Florida Gators, where, again, you lost Tyrese Samuel, who was ridiculously efficient around the rim. And that's huge because, as we all know, with Todd Golden specifically, he wants your shots to come around the rim or catch and shoot threes. Like that's what he's looking for. And as far as overall efficiency, shooting percentage-wise, Tyrese Samuel and Sam Alexis are very similar there. Again, Sam Alexis, by the way, even if he does shoot 28% from 3 again, that's considerably more efficient than Tyrese Samuel was. So not someone that I want shooting threes. But if he were to do it, be more efficient than Tyrese Samuel was, at least in the 2023-2024 season. But for Sam Alexis, defense and rebounding are his bread and butter. Like Sam Alexis is about as perfect a replacement for Tyrese Samuel as you can look for, as you can get. Like just looking at I'm going to pull up their numbers side by side. But Tyrese Samuel in 2023 and 2024, it's going to be Sam Alexis and Tyrese Samuel. Offensive rating, Tyrese Samuel, bit higher. It's about 7 points higher there. Possession percentage, Tyrese Samuel saw the ball about the same percent as Sam Alexis. There's a 0.05% difference there. Shot percentage, 0.05% difference there. Effective field goal percentage, 0.03 or 0.3 difference there. And with Tyrese Samuel being slightly better. True shooting percentage, Tyrese Samuel, a little bit better there. But when you look at the rebounding percentages, Sam Alexis was more efficient as an offensive rebounder, and Sam Alexis was considerably more efficient as a defensive rebounder. Like Tyrese Samuel offensive rebound percentage was 11% last year. Sam Alexis, 12%. But then you look at defensive rebound percentage. Tyrese Samuel this past season, 18%. Sam Alexis, 25.4%, 43rd in the nation. Okay. Pretty good. Assist rate, basically the same. Sam Alexis turns the ball over more and turns the ball over too frequently. Locked On Gators subtext insiders know when I send out these charts that we have these thresholds that we look for. Turnover percentage turnover rate should be below 16. Sam Alexis is at 17.5. Tyrese Samuel is at 14.1. That's a big jump there. So that's one thing where Sam Alexis really needs to clean up to replicate what Tyrese Samuel brought to the table. Looking at getting to the free throw line, Tyrese Samuel does it more, but again, he's been more experienced. He's been in college basketball for longer than Sam Alexis was. And about the time, Tyrese Samuel's second year in college basketball had 23.4 free throw rate. Sam Alexis just finished his second year. He's at 33.3. So Tyrese Samuel got considerably better as time went on and as he got more confident and as he bulked up a bit and was ready to hang and bang down low. Sam Alexis, I think it's reasonable to expect a similar increase at that point of just cleaning up that rate and getting more effective, more efficient there. Part of that also comes down to shoot less threes, get to the basket more, and you will get to the line more. One area where Sam Alexis, unfortunately, is very similar to Tyrese Samuel, 48% free throw shooter. That is just horrible. I mean, first off, that's worse than Tyrese Samuel was. Tyrese Samuel shot 56.2% from the free throw line this season. 8 percentage points worse. Desperately needs to improve. And also I will say Sam Alexis more efficient from 2 and 3 than Tyrese Samuel. So the trade-off there, relatively similar, but stuff like that just cannot happen. Like you cannot shoot 48% from the free throw line. They're free throws. And look at how many games the Florida Gators played in 2023 and 2024 season that were close games that Florida lost, where you go, oh, if you just didn't shoot 52% from the free throw line, you win that game. Whereas now we're looking at it and we go, okay, well, he shoots worse from the free throw line. And that's a major concern for me. I understand that you go, oh, well, if we get around the rim 2s and we get 3s, and if we get into the bonus, then our better free throw shooters get to the line more frequently. Totally makes sense. Totally understand that. But you're talking about potentially leaving a lot of points on the board for that trade-off. It's not something that I feel good about. I'm going to be honest. The amount of times that we were talking in the subtext, like me and Q, and so many of us that were just like, oh, these free throws, man, are killing me. Whether I'm talking with Andre, whoever it is in the subtext group that I'm like, oh, it's like free throws are going to be the death of me, whether it's Cam. I don't want to sit through that again this year. And Sam Alexis shoots 48% from the free throw line. The next player that we're about to talk about shoots 49% from the free throw line. So still not great, which we're about to get to Ruben in just a second. But first, we're going to get a quick word from Monopoly Go. Check it out, guys. I need you all to listen up for this huge announcement that I've been tracking the leaderboards every day, keeping my eye on the scores, putting all my heart into it, because if you don't know me, you will know everything I do is maximum effort. I'm a real gym rat. And I'm super pumped to announce that I'm finally on top of the leaderboard there. Like all my friends below me. Yeah, I am talking about the hit mobile game Monopoly Go. You've heard of it, especially if you're an everydayer here. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great mobile twist on the classic Monopoly game that you can play anywhere, anytime. You explore hundreds of Monopoly boards from Vegas to Camelot to the moon, all while raking in a huge fortune. You can charge rent on iconic properties, just like classic Monopoly, and you can charge rent to your friends. That's my favorite part. Beating my friends, there's nothing better than it. But my favorite part is those leaderboards where you could see who's a Monopoly tycoon and who's gone bankrupt. So go get yourself on the charts. Download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store and on Google Play. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And the next player that we're talking about for the Florida Gators that has committed through the transfer portal is going to be, I believe, an impact player in this 2024 season is Ruben Cheel from Washington State. And Washington State, I mean, they made the tournament. They were one of those teams where one of the youngest teams, if not the youngest team, to make the tournament this year. Incredibly inexperienced, and for them to make it at all was huge. Of course, had to run into the gauntlet of playing Iowa State, which was look. Iowa State had a damn good team this year. A few absolutely dominant games there. Ruben Cheel is someone that I think in the 2024 season will contribute as an immediate depth piece, as like a rotational 4 or 5. Because you look at the rotation from last year, and I mean, your guards changed a lot with Walter Clayton, or your 1 through 3, we'll say, changed a lot with Walter Clayton, Will Richard declaring for the NBA draft with eligibility remaining if they wanted to come back. You've lost Zion Pullen, and you've lost Riley Kugel. He went to Kansas. But then you look at who's returning. You lost Tyrese Samuel as a big, but you brought back Alex Condon, Micah Handlogton, Thomas Huck. And for the most part, those are going to be your main contributors, right? And then you also look at bringing in Sam Alexis and Ruben Cheel, who Ruben Cheel I do think will rotate in. And also, a lot of this depends on what the recovery is like for Micah Handlogton. Like, we know that he's walked around without a cast. That doesn't mean he's going to be cleared to play in time. Especially when you're that big, an injury like that can take a while for you to get actually back to full strength and full health. So we'll see what that is, if he has any minute restriction or anything like that. But I do think that you look at Micah Handlogton and Alex Condon, that could realistically be your starting 4 and 5, with Micah Handlogton being the 5. That could be your starting 4 and 5. You can look at Sam Alexis maybe as a starting 4, and with Alex Condon rotating in as a 4 or 5, or Alex Condon as a 5, Thomas Huck as a 4. Ruben Cheel, though, I do believe will be center 3, essentially, or big man 4 or 5-ish. But I don't think he's going to be an immediate contributor. But also, last season was his true freshman year. Like that's, I think, important to acknowledge that this past season was his true freshman year. He did play a good bit. Was mostly coming off the bench, though. Played about 34% of the minutes for Washington State there. But he's someone that I do think that Florida brought in with the intention of saying, hey, let's add a young piece that can come in, maybe contribute a bit right away, give us some valuable minutes off the bench, especially early in the season and late in the season. Maybe in the middle, we kind of sag off a little bit, but someone that can give you valuable minutes and then in the future be your starting big man. I think with Ruben Cheel, like I look at him the same way that I look at Micah Handlogton coming in, where I go, all right, you're not this big time scorer. You're not a shooter. Like Ruben Cheel did not attempt a 3 last season. I'm expecting that to continue. I just don't think he's a 3-point shooter. It's not part of his game. That's fine. Micah Handlogton attempted 10 last year, 12 the year before. He's got 22 3-point attempts in his 2 seasons here. I'm fine, or 2 seasons playing college basketball. I'm fine with having a big man that doesn't shoot. If your role is play defense, grab rebounds. And I think that that's what we look at with Ruben Cheel. Like, because if you can have even, let's say, Micah Handlogton at the 5, Alex Condon at the 4, Sam Alexis is the backup 4, and Thomas Huck at the backup 4, with Ruben Cheel as your backup 5, I'm fine with that. Like that's fine by me. I could see him do that. But again, active rebounder and defender that knows how to contribute without being a scorer, setting those off-ball screens, passing out. Like, he's someone that didn't have many shot attempts or didn't even have a high number of his possessions end with him shooting the ball, but he was very efficient as a scorer. I had an effective field goal percentage of 61.7, which is a few points lower than Micah Handlogton. But again, that's one of those things where we go, okay, you're a big man. Most of your shots are coming around the rim, trying to draw fouls on putbacks, whatever it may be. I'm fine. Like 61% way better than the 51% that we're looking for generally, right? So I'm fine with that. Looking at the percentages for offensive rebound and defensive rebounding percentage, Micah Handlogton, 17.9% offensive rebound percentage, Ruben Cheel, 16.1%. Micah Hanlock did 20.3 defensive rebound percentage. Ruben Cheel, 25.4%. Ruben Cheel, he needs to do a better job of taking care of the ball. But again, he wasn't someone who was really relied on to do much offensively. Like, he's not a good offensive player. I'm fine saying that. Again, he's efficient around the rim. It's about it. He's not a good offensive player right now. Who'll work on rebounds, kick out there. But this is also someone who the feel for the game is going to come with more experience, more minutes, and more coaching. Straight up, just more coaching. The thing that terrifies me is that 49% free throw percentage. And again, it's not just that Ruben Cheel shoots 49%. It's not just that Sam Alexis shoots 48%. Because it's really not just one simple thing there. But it's that you shot terribly as a team from the free throw line last season. And it's very possible that you do it again. Micah Hanlock shot 38% from the free throw line last year. Denzel Aberdeen, 63%. Alex Condon, 67%. Thomas Huff, 45.7%. You were a bad free throw shooting team last year. And you replace Tyrese Samuel, who's a bad free throw shooter. Riley Kugel, who's an all right free throw shooter. And Zion Pullen, who's a very good free throw shooter, with bad free throw shooting. That's what terrifies me, that you weren't good at it last year and you replace it with guys who might be worse at it. And I understand, again, creating turnovers, because Ruben Cheel protects the rim. He's going to get you blocks. He's going to get more rebound opportunities for other players with his blocks and just contesting shots. So I understand that you're looking to get just more possessions, and you will get that, and that the free throw rate will probably cancel out a little bit or get a trade-off. But it's still going to terrify me because it's one of those fundamental things to me going, it's free throws. Like, you could work on those all day by yourself, and it's going to drive me crazy, and I'm going to complain about it. But guess what? I'm still excited, and I do think that all these additions are valuable. Ruben Cheel is one guy that I don't know how much we see from him this year. I do think he can rotate in, but Sam Alexis and Elijah Martin are guys that I do expect to make pretty significant contributions in this 2024 season. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free regulars in the podcast and on YouTube. We will be back tomorrow talking more Florida Gators football. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my great work with Giants Country and NFL 33, and I'll see you all next time.